a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton. Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood. Over there is Jacob Litton. Jacob is ready to go. He's just used his smelling salts. He's wide awake. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm ready to rock.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm ready to roll.
No smelling salts over here.
Oh, what a
Just
weird-
high on life over here, Jason.
Okay, that's cool, man. That's cool. You should be, man. You got 4 kids running around your house. They'll keep you wide awake.
Yeah.
Until you're ready to crash. So, now that smelling salt story was quite funny this week. They're like, no, we don't care if we use it. Just the teams aren't going to give it to you. So we could reduce all liability, I guess, if something bad happens.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Stupid liability. I'm sure the lawyers are involved in that. All right. I want to welcome everyone to this is cool. We're training camp's rolling on. We got a cool fan mail today, Jacob. And I'm gonna read it here. He says, I've been a listener since day one. Name is Ron. Appreciate you guys. Love the show. Very glad you got rid of the siren. This is the siren guy. Ron is the siren guy. So now we got a name. You're no longer siren guy. You're Ron. So thanks for listening, Ron. We really appreciate it. He says, I usually listen while driving. Like Jacob mentioned, I let the car take me. And then he laughs. So he he's freaked out. That siren got him. He's probably speeding. He's listening to us. He's having a good time and just not paying attention to the road. But he says, seeing all the news about the hutch rule, which I'm going to have you explain here in a second. Seeing the practices, do you guys think it's a situation of hutch just being that good or our new line being that bad? So first, Jacob, explain for anybody that doesn't know what the hutch rule is. Go ahead and explain that for everybody.
Yes. So the hutch rule is something that I'm sure anyone following the team has heard at this point because the national media outlets really took this thing and ran with it for sure. But basically, Aiden Hutchinson has been doing so well in practice that Coach Campbell implemented the hutch rule. That's what they're calling it, where basically when Hutchinson beats his lineman and registers a sack, when he gets in, usually they would blow the whistle dead. Now with the hutch rule, he's going to get in and sack, and then they just ignore it and let the play continue. Otherwise, the offense cannot get any work in because Hutch has been that disruptive. And this is something that we have not talked about with each other. So I'm interested to hear your take on this. And I appreciate the question from Ron too. Do you think, in your opinion, is it a situation that Hutchinson is just being that good, or are you concerned about the O-line being, struggling because of this?
Decker's not playing, right? And that's a big, big key to this. So I think the answer, just like a lot of things, it's not all the way to one side or one, is Hutch so good or offensive line so bad? It's like in the middle. When Hutch is going against Manu or Jamarco Jones, I expect him to dominate, right? Because he registered an awesome, everyone's seen the highlight now, the spin move on Sewell. And we all know how good Sewell is, right? That's your good marker, right? And with Hutch beating Sewell, that tells me that he's in the right spot, that he's back being Hutch. When he's on the other side, facing Manu, if he doesn't dominate Manu, then I'd be really worried about Hutch. So I think it's just somewhere in the middle. Like the offensive line play, especially on the tackles, are not that great. But Hutch is that good. And, we both, you and I have both been at practice and we've seen this firsthand. Hutch is all the way back. He doesn't look any different to me as far as his movements or anything like that than what I've seen in the past. What's your thoughts on the whole Hutch rule and,
Yeah, no, I kind of feel the same. I mean, after seeing a couple practices in person, it's just to see it live, you would understand the situation that this is 100% necessary, because I think we saw a play where I don't even think they ran a stunt. I don't think they touched him. Like, he was in Goff's face within like 1 second as soon as he snapped the ball. Yeah, so any concern or anybody feeling like, well, he's coming off an injury and we're not sure, forget about all that. I mean, you would not be able to tell that he missed the season last year. I feel like he's even taken it a step further than he was in training camp last year. So, if you do count these as dead balls as you typically do, then they're right. The offense would not get as much work and it would become a nuisance almost. I think it's a combination of Hutch just being hungry. He knows like how well he was doing. He missed out on last year. This is, he's been missing it for so long. He's finally back in action like that. But it is also, like you said, it's a good deal of, when Hutch is lined up across Dan Skipper, we expect him to get back there pretty quickly. If Skipper's holding Hutch, then would be all the other way. Like, okay, how concerned should we be about this injury? Manu and Skip are slowing Hutch down, it'd be all the other way. So you're right. There's kind of a little bit of both sides there, but I definitely think that Hutchinson has taken it to another level. And it'll be interesting once Decker comes back, because, he is back. He's activated, but he was not in full pads, full contact. They're kind of easing him in. So be interested to see that matchup as well. But I think that Hutchinson beats him more often than not, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean Hutch is just on a. It's like he's up in the T.J. Watt, Miles Garrett, Hendrickson. He's in that level. He's in that category where in these practices they're not. The Lions' offense isn't game planning against the Lions' defense. In a game they're going to run chips. They're going to put Brock Wright on that side. They're going to, or Laporta, they're going to put another tight end on there just to slow them down. They're not really doing that. So anybody that's like super worried about the offense, there are things that John Morton can do to alleviate this problem. I don't think it's going to be an issue once Decker gets back and once we're running our full complement of our offense and we're running it to the fullest extent of our abilities. Yes, the defense is ahead, and I think we'll probably talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves about the offense and the defense, probably when we get into the practice part. But I think the overall arching story that we should be excited as Lions fans is that Hutch is back and going to be his dominant self, because we saw like at the beginning of last year what that made our defense look like, and not that like even when he left, it was still holding serve for a while. But now that say you got Barnes and Hutchback and Davenport, I mean that's a huge part of our defense that we lost very early on in the season last year. Not to mention all the other injuries. So I think the moral of the story is Hutch is back, and we should all be happy about that. And the offensive line stuff, once Decker comes back, will kind of sort itself out, at least in my opinion.
I agree with what you said about Hutch, and I'm hoping that you're right about the offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, my optimistic look, that's where I'm at right now. I don't think, honestly, like I have no reason other to be optimistic. I think Mahogany's looked good. I think Tate Radledge is good. I think Graham might even, I mean, yes, is it a large step down from Frank? Yes. But I think Graham can take that. I kind of like the move now, moving Tate over and have Graham at center. Graham said that he likes playing center. Said that in the interview. So there was like some misconception that he didn't like being center. I think what it got said was he didn't like being put at center like in the middle of a game when he hadn't, practiced. But I think overall he likes to play center, and I like to have that experience there. I think Mahogany, I mean, if you listen to what Dan Campbell said, he's they had a large expectations for him, but I think he's exceeded that. And when I've seen him in camp, he's looked pretty dominant, and so I'm happy about that. And we got Panay Sewell. We haven't seen Decker yet play this year, but we know what Decker is. So I'm okay with I think I'll be okay with the offensive line. We'll see what happens when.
If I'm playing devil's advocate here, though,
Yeah,
if we're getting into it right now, just obviously the drop off from Frank to Graham is considerable, and we don't even know for sure how much yet. Tate's looked decent, in training camp. you also, it once we see these joint practices and everything, hopefully see the preseason work, that'll be a little more telling. Um, yeah, but you forget that Mahogany did not go through a full training camp last year, and you forget how limited he was because he does look like he belongs out there, and there's not any question of what he's doing out there. But I'm a firm believer in the offensive line working as a unit, and they're not a complete unit. Decker's not been out there with them. We don't see how they're working together, and that's something that's very valuable that I think needs to happen really soon so that they can get that going in the preseason. I don't want week one them to not fully be a unit, because that does concern me, because that's what we've seen thus far in practice. When the offensive line's not holding up, when they're not doing that, the offense is not moving.
Nope. I agree with you. Like I said, it goes back to some of that is the game planning. I think they could do some stuff where they're getting the ball out quicker from Goff. A lot of these things, they're trying a lot more deep shots in practice. That obviously makes you hold the ball longer. If the offensive line isn't holding up, then they're probably not going to try that. They're going to do some other stuff. Whether like the chipping and all that stuff I said earlier. So I think what's going to happen, two things going to happen that's going to really help us decipher how things are going to go. Decker getting back is number one, and hopefully he's back for the joint practices, because then we're going to see what it looks like, against another team, a different defense. And, not that they're, game planning all that stuff, but I want to see what our number one defense looks like against their, this week will be next week will be Miami Dolphins, and then our number one offense against their number one defense. I want to see how that looks. Now, if the offense really, really struggles and looks like how they've been, then the concern level goes up. If if our defense is dominant against their number one, that's pretty. You got A Chain over there. You got good wide receivers over there. Tua is Tua. Um, I don't think he's exceptional, but I also don't think he's terrible. But if we hold them under check, then I'm going to feel really good about the defense too. So it'll be interesting. So I was going to save this for later, but since we just got on this conversation, now let's just do that. My question, what is your concern level for the offense right now? It's like 1, there's 0, I'm not concerned at all. 10, fire John Morton and get this. I'm not saying we do that, but that's what 10 would, you know, blow this thing up. Where's your concern level 1 through 10?
I guess I would put it 4. I would say that I'm a little bit higher, but I'm leaning towards not being as concerned. It's still early on. You can expect that with the offensive line changes and everything like that. You also expect with training camp, with the new offensive coordinator, there's little kinks, there's little things you have to worry about. I know Dan Campbell said too, we're not far off. You're a step here, a little bit there. And we saw that in practice too. Gibbs was, a foot away from catching the ball away from Jack Campbell and taking off for a touchdown. And Campbell was honestly holding him almost the whole play. So you have things like that. There's opportunities there. I'm definitely not, blow it up right now or anything like that. But it's definitely going to depend on how the offensive line turns out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm probably in a 3.5, 4, somewhere in that range. I mean, we probably started out in the season in a 2 to 3 just because we're changing offensive coordinators, right? We like Ben Johnson, super successful. We get a new OC in here. Of course, your concern goes up. Now we could have the same concern, although I think a lot less people liked Aaron Glenn than they liked Ben Johnson. A lot of people were, Aaron Glenn was like 50-50 in this town, I think. Some people loved him, some people didn't like him. When they played well, they loved him. When we played bad, that was, it was all AG's fault. Now, when the offense had played bad, people weren't blaming, Ben Johnson. They're going to blame Jared Goff or something else. That's where the blame went. Now, Kelvin Shepard the defenses look good. So, like, I guess that concern is down a little bit. But the offense, yeah, I would say I'm up a little bit to a 4. And just because I would like to see the offense have like just one dominant practice where I don't care how good our defense is, that just takes it down the field. Like when we went, all 3 times that I've went, the offense, I'd say the first time the offense looked really bad, like that Hutch was just in the backfield the whole time. and just couldn't get anything going. Maybe, that's when the hutch rule started to really become a thing. The second time when we went, that last week, I thought I didn't think the offense looked a lot better. The offensive line was able to block a little bit more. We weren't like moving the ball up and down the field, but it was, it looked a little more consistent for me.
I
The
thought that
last
was closer
practice,
to 50-50. Right.
yes,
The last, not the one we just saw the other day, but yes, the last week was closer to 50-50. That was closer to what you'd expect.
yes. The last practice was 100% off our defense. It was like not even really relatively close. And that was like first, second, and third team. Really, I mean,
Just
it
ugly.
looked bad all the way around. And you're talking like drops from JMO and Amon Ra. Amon Ra dropped,
Yes.
like, you when we're struggling to move against this defense, and like some of these were like the plays they'd like go on with Hutch, like they would Hutch will get the sack, and they're still like waiting like another half a second after that to throw the pass. Like the play would have been dead, real, and then they're still dropping the pass, and they're still not moving the ball. So, it when you go to a game, you want to. I mean, it's hard because we're rooting. I want if the offense looks good, then we're worried about the defense, right? But I don't. I want to see more 50-50 like we saw the practice before, rather than just the defense just dominating.
Right. That's where the concern roots.
Hmm.
Because
Yes.
obviously, you can't be fully excited either way. Someone's going to get the best of the other one. You just hope it's closer to a 50-50 split and not so dominant by the defense.
Yeah, that's why these joint practices will be a lot more fun to
Right.
because we'll have a clear rooting interest. um,
You're going in reverse order of the
well, I think
you start at the bottom and then you're working your way back.
well, I think I'm gonna blame Ron, the siren dude. So his question
That
just kind of
don't put that on Ron. Ron's question was a great question, a great opener, and you took it and just couldn't stop talking. You worked your way all the way down to the end.
I can't stop.
You might as
talking,
well have
man.
just did the preseason game preview. I don't know. Like we're
That's
just
right.
letting you talk.
Yeah, just let me go, man.
It's
All
Jason's
right.
world. We're all just living in it.
That's about right. So, all right, man. Let's get up to where we were gonna. Let's catch up with what the lines did this week. You want to go through the transactions? What happened this week?
Yes. So transactions since last time. So we have waived defensive lineman Raekwon Williams. We waived with a injury settlement, I believe. Well, we waived running back Kai Robichaud. He cleared waivers, so now he's reverted back to IR. So now he's ours again. He's back on the team. The bigger ones, we placed rookie safety Dan Jackson on IR. His season is over. Cornerback Ennis Rakestraw just today had shoulder surgery, and he's also been placed on season-ending IR. Two pretty significant blows. Definitely Rakestraw. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Some of the people we signed, though, we signed an offensive tackle, Justin Heron. We signed cornerback DJ Miller. We signed another cornerback, Luke Barku. And then with today's move, when they put Rakestraw on the IR, we also signed tight end Steven Stylianos, who is actually from Iowa. I guess he played the same time as Laporta and Campbell, which that's kind of cool. But I was very surprised to see tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, I was expecting another defensive back, offensive lineman. So to see a tight end up there, kind of crazy. And I'm not sure what to even make of that. But obviously the Rakestraw and Jackson injuries are huge. But what other transaction, which one stands out to you the most?
Yeah. First, I want to talk. Let's just talk. Dan Jackson, I'm really sad. I like that kid. But depending on, we still don't know what the injury is. I mean, as far as I know, I haven't heard what the actual injury is. So I don't know. I mean, obviously it's serious enough that he can't, they put him on IR. However, at some point they might have been able to bring him back in the season, but like say it's like 10 games in, you're not going to bring a 7th round pick back 10 games in, and he'd have to get up to speed and everything like that. So it might have been easier just to stash him on the IR. I'm hoping for Dan Jackson's sake that it's not as serious as an injury. He's able to work out because it was obvious to me, especially watching in that preseason game, he needs to bulk up. He needs to get just bigger in general. And the want is there. The desire to play is there. He'll stick his nose in there and do his job. I just think he needs to have an NFL body. So uh, this, I'm not saying this is a blessing that he got hurt, but I'm hoping he could take advantage of. He's not injured like this whole season. Like he's able to, bulk up a little bit. The Ennis thing, yeah, when we saw the surgery, well, surgery picture came out first, right? And so we still didn't know at that point, like, hey, is this 6 to 8 weeks, and now we know it's the whole season. So that sucks for Ennis. I feel bad for him. He's getting a lot of like, this guy could never be healthy. It's a freak thing, man. I know he was injured a lot in college, so I think it could be a lot to expect to, for him to play a full season next year. But I'm hoping that he can get right, train, and get back to it. So
Yeah, I mean,
disappointing.
that's a killer for me too. Like it just feel terrible for him. I mean, he was just out. He had like that really bad hit where he had a chest contusion.
Mhm.
He works his way back, and then I think it was it the same practice or the next practice? He was only practicing like another day or two.
But it was so he played the preseason game poorly, but he's also, obviously he was dealing with something, and then there was the very next practice. It was in one-on-ones, I think, and
Yep.
he missed, and he just landed. My guess is that he was favoring one shoulder because of the chest contusion, and just like, you know, awkwardly fell, and probably was trying to protect the injured shoulder, and messed up the other shoulder.
Yeah, because that's another one we don't know exactly what the injury is. We know it was shoulder surgery, but
Right.
that's
You
just
did.
real tough.
It is. You talked about them signing a tight end today. I was just as floored as you, because I was like, what does that mean? Because we already have Zach Horton and Yoboa, who I think are on the outside looking in right now. I think Zylstra is tight end 3. So I was kind of confused. Like, does that say something about Yoboa? Yoboa, yeah, I know he got hurt, but he was out at practice. We saw him play on Wednesday. So, and he looked fine. I mean, he was able to play, and he didn't look like he had a noticeable limp or anything like that. So I was kind of surprised about the tight end. Maybe it's a special teams thing. I'm not, it could be that'd be the only thing. I don't. Or Zach Horton. I mean, Zach Horton's looked all right for an undrafted free agent. They had him lining up all over the place. So
Right.
I
No, they both have they've been moving around. I think Yeboah is actually he's looked decent as a blocker. I haven't seen any, pass catching ability out of either of them, but I don't think that's really what they're there for.
yeah.
So to add a third, which Stylianos is also a blocking tight end, he's not much of a pass catcher. Yeah, just really, really weird.
I think it's got to be. I'm wondering if it's more special teams related than anything else.
But okay, so let's say you said special teams related. What how long are the odds of this person making the roster as a special teamer
It
at
might
this
be
point?
for Friday. It might be just for another body for
Yeah, I think
Friday.
they're just, hey, we need somebody to block on this day, and we'll.
Right. I mean, you already figure like how many tackles were out and everything. That's why I was kind of surprised it wasn't just another. I know we got Justin Heron, but I thought it'd be just another offensive lineman, because as we're, and we'll talk about later on, this is me jumping ahead again. Manu's going to be playing a lot because of the injuries.
There's no need for an outline. Jason's just going to
Yeah,
run with wherever he wants
exactly.
to.
Well, I was weaving in and
No,
out
it's
of it.
relevant. It's relevant.
It's
I'll give you this one.
Oh man, come on, man, just let me run the show. So I just thought that there'd be an offensive lineman. Tight end was weird for me, but maybe they got him in there for blocking purposes too. Maybe he's not necessarily there for a tight end. Maybe they got him there for another reason. But I was kind of shocked at that, especially the timing of it, like right before the preseason game. I mean, there's no practices before this, so this guy's going to just join right now, before a game, and I mean, are they going
Right.
to dress
Yeah.
him?
Like, what are they?
I don't know.
Yeah. He's just going to block field goals.
um, all right. So, along with the transaction updates, there were some injuries, and they're kind of piling up. Uh, Normal in training camp stuff, though. Some of this stuff I feel like they're holding people back. Um, and if it was a game situation, they might be out there. So, we already talked about Day Jackson and Ennis Rakestraw. That has kind of led into Rocky Sin going in for safety. Ian Kennelly. getting more playing time. So that's kind of been the fallout of that. But along with injuries, Dominic Lovett, he got injured in the practice. That I don't know. That was the goal line practice where they ran a lot of goal line. Like this is where most of these injuries come from. So the Dominic Lovett, Dan Campbell said out for 10 days. Pat O'Connor is out for at least a week. So we're, as when he said this, it was at the beginning of the week. So we're hoping, at the beginning next week in time for these joint practices. Hopefully all these guys will be back. Jamarco Jones is out. Dan Skipper's out. Terrion still, he did not practice the day we were there. Obviously, we're not going to see him in the game in Atlanta. So we're hoping next week Terrion's back. And Vaki was someone that was missing at our practice, which was very interesting. We still don't know why. I actually asked Jeremy if he had and Eric if they had heard anything from Pride Detroit. Eric said he had asked around. No one's telling him anything. So he either they don't know or they're not giving up the answer. But Eric did tell me that after practice on Monday, when they asked him, because Vaki was out for a hamstring, didn't play in the preseason game, practiced Monday, and they said he felt great afterwards. So the obvious things are that there was a personal situation that he just had to miss or an injury crept up, either from weight room or something after the game or after the practice. So we'll see. I'm really hoping that we see him tomorrow night or Friday night's game in Atlanta. I just want to see him get some reps. I want to see what he can do.
Absolutely. I think it's somebody that we're all watching.
Exactly.
And, to have the injury and then he came back practice, said he was excited to play, and then all of a sudden now he's not back at practice. Obviously you'd hope that there wasn't a family emergency or some personal thing like that going on for his sake, but you also don't hope that, he aggravated something and, so whatever the reason may be, hopefully everything's okay with him and hopefully we see him tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah. Jamarco Jones and Dan Skipper out. We already have Taylor Decker out. So we're on OT 4, which is right now Manu playing, he's going to be cleared in the blind side of Hendon Hooker if they leave the offensive line the way it is right now. Uh, is that fair to Hendon Hooker that they're going to have, Manu out there and a role that we're going to, be evaluating Hendon, how he's playing?
I feel like Hendon is going to be running a lot again, which stinks. We want to see what he's got, right. But absolutely, if Manu's out there, we already know he's still very raw. He's still got a long way to go.
Yeah, I think he's made improvements, but I get the feeling, Dan Campbell himself said he's seen more bad than good, which I bet you they were hoping for a little bit more this, in camp so far from him. So we'll see. Camp is still early. He still can work things out, but as of right now, I
always
would not
optimistic.
I would not expect Manu to be playing. He might be one of those inactives again, which is going to be tough to have him inactive for a whole nother season if it works like that. It's like I get that we want to have these development players, but that's taking up a roster spot for someone else that could be really productive. So I don't know. I'm hoping we see more from the kid.
At what point do we take our chances and cut him and hope he comes to the practice squad?
Oh man, I don't think they're going to do that. They invested too much on him.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. They can't do it yet.
Yeah,
I think it'd be too early to do it right now. But how, at some point he's not improving. He had a full year last year. Yeah. That's not to say he's not improving. He's just not where you would like him to be.
Yes.
Which obviously we hope that there's not any sort of situation where we need him to play in the regular season like that anyway. But you want him to be active, right? You want him to be doing something, special teams or whatever.
Right, exactly. You want him to be a productive part of the roster. It may have been a large ask for Manu himself. He's playing Canadian college football. Essentially high school. In my opinion, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's, very low Division 3, 4, whatever college football.
It's insulting
down here.
to the Canadians. There's a lot of Canadians that listen to us, Jason, and you're making them angry right now.
I think that's probably true.
There's a lot of Alouettes fans that are not happy.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and you're right. I'm probably making people mad. That was kind of offensive, but that's not the same competition that you're getting from an American college, and then
Absolutely.
to have him come in and then, basically redshirt last year. I mean, you're essentially stepping him up to like college, like major college, even a jump to like a Michigan or something like that, competition level. Is that a decent ask for him to be able to handle that? And then you would say maybe next year he needs to be able to handle, tackle 3. It is disappointing that he's not making that jump, but also we got to keep expectations, I think, in line too.
The expectation is if you're a brick wall, you're going to be able to slow some people down and stop them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what Eric and Jeremy have said, that in their, in the run game, he just can like envelop someone. It's the pass game that he's just not quick enough, and the technique is not there. But he made from what everybody said, a large stride from last year when he was like didn't even look to be fit on the football field, frankly, to the end of last year. I mean, he's made some progress. I think from what Dan's comments were, that I think they were expecting more. We got a chat here. Says the Lion King says, "What up?" So what's up, Lion King? Thanks for joining us. All right. So then I guess the last thing on the injury we already mentioned, Taylor Decker got activated. So the Dominic Lovett thing is pretty disappointing too, because I mean he was fighting for wide receiver 6, and he's missing some very valuable reps. So I'm hoping that he can get back out there.
Yes, I mean he kind of was the only bright spot. I mean Tesla, obviously, like during the preseason, just a couple flashes, but Levitt was out there more, and he was getting open. He was making the most of it. I know he had a couple like I don't know if you want to call it the drop and everything like that, but he was getting open. He was making the most of his opportunity. So that stinks that he got set back. I do still feel like what he's shown so far, he's if we were to have to submit the final 53 right now, I think he would be on it.
I think so too. But Jackson Meeks and Keeney James will have to show out a little bit to they're going to have to take advantage of this opportunity, right? Because I'm assuming they're going to get a lot of snaps. I mean,
absolutely.
I think Lovett got like 9 targets in the game, so those targets are going to go somewhere. We're hoping there's more targets, meaning because that by the that we've because Hendon Hooker only threw like 6 passes in the second half last week because we kept just turning the ball over, and we weren't getting first downs, which is a very bad combination.
Well, but I mean, also at the same time, that's people not getting open.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at, so I know a lot of people are down on Hendon, and maybe I don't know if we mentioned this in our post game or not, but I think if you look at Hendon, he was 3 for 6 and he threw a pick. However, that pick, Lovett just dropped that ball. I mean, the defensive back just stole that away from him. If he doesn't do that,
possible PI, but right, that's not his fault either way.
It was not Hooker's fault. So he would have been 4 for 6 and say that was like, I don't know, I'm guessing 25, 30 yards down the field. I mean, his stat line looks totally different than what it ended up looking like, 3 for 6 with a pick. Not saying he looked great at any other point, but also who's he working with, and offensive line wise and receiver wise. I think we're going to get a better read on him this week. Although, like I said, we're going to have Manus and his left tackle. That's going to be a tough ask too. So we'll see. Might see a little more rollout action.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about the preseason stuff anyway, like this, the time's ticking for Hooker, in my opinion. And I know, it's not exactly fair that he's not working with the same level of people, but that's also on the Lions for letting Kyle Allen run with the people that he ran with last week first. I said I wanted Hendon to get the first crack, and they didn't. They put Kyle Allen out there. So now you're making things harder for Hendon Hooker when he's not got the same starter. Well, not their starters. He doesn't have the second team. He doesn't have the same people out there with him. So he's getting time with the third team. And now here you go. Let's say they're going to give him the half or whatever. Now you've got all these injuries on the offensive line. You've got Lovett that's not going to be playing. You've got your third round quarterback who you really want to see what he's got. And he's throwing to undrafted wide receivers. And he's got, late draft picks or undrafted Canadian Football League players blocking for him, and he's going to be running for his life back there. I mean, that's what's going to happen in this preseason game. He's going to have to be on the move, and he's going to have to make these throws in tight windows. It's not fair, but it's like he's got to make something out of nothing.
Another thing is, can we talk about the Lions' management of this? Like, why put Hooker third string at all? Like, are we really thinking Kyle Allen is going to be better than him? Like, why are we even doing this? We got to know if Hooker is the guy, right? And so
right,
coupled with, I was not a believer like last year, whatever, was like, oh, we don't believe in Hendon Hooker because we got Teddy Bridgewater. I thought that was a totally different situation. We brought in some experience and a playoff time. But the way they're handling this, it kind of just blows my mind a little bit. Like, I'm hoping they just give Hendon plenty of time. I would love to see him to even go into the third quarter. I've seen enough of Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen's been in this league. We know what he is, right? I mean, I'm not saying he can't be a valuable part of this team. He could do stuff for Goff, and he has probably a part on this team. But as far as being the number two, a guy coming in with Goff gets hurt, we got to know if Hooker can handle that or not. Or is this a situation where we're going to be like where we were when we had David Blau and Tim Boyle? We're going to cut both guys and then, bring in Nate Sudfeld for the year.
Yeah, because that worked so well. That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I mean, I said this when we signed Kyle Allen. I said, what is that? You thought Kyle was here to hold a clipboard, and it doesn't look that way. They're giving him reps. They're giving him opportunities, even in practice. I mean, the last practice we went to, the second team drills and everything, they had Allen out there for a lot of it. Hendon got the last little bit, but he's getting the scraps the last little bit in practice. I don't know what to make of that. And is that on Hendon for not developing, the way that they thought he would? Is he not picking the offense up? Or is that on the Lions and the coaching staff that they've not got him in the position or given him the opportunity to be in that position?
Yeah. I'm a little bit floored why they've done it this way. They flip-flop back and forth because, that's what they've done every practice. It's Hendon goes with the twos. The next practice, Kyle goes with the twos. I just don't understand it, to be honest with you, because I truly didn't believe that Kyle Allen was in. I know they said a QB competition, and if Kyle Allen really outplayed Hendon, they would have no problem making him the number two because the Lions will always go with who's producing on the field. But I just don't understand why you're not just giving Hendon the keys and saying, take this, unless they thought he needed a kick in the pants. And if he does need a kick in the pants, as far as competition, I don't like that either. I don't like the sound of him needing added, competition to make this exciting for him, to make him want and do this stuff.
Well, but it's like they've lit the fire underneath him, but now they're just letting him burn. You're not giving him the tools to get up, like it's just not happening. Mm-hmm. Honestly, this entire game, I would let Hendon play the entire game. What do we need to see Kyle Allen for at all?
Right. I agree.
Honestly, what do we need? What more do we need to see out of him?
No, is your good question. I mean, the only thing is like, okay, at some point when you get the third, I mean, your argument could have been, well, when the third team offensive line gets in there, you don't want to risk Hendon getting hurt. But we threw Hendon out there last week with the third team offensive line, so that argument is moot, right? So
right. Well, and he's already starting off with these people. I mean, I don't know what
Yep. No, it's a good argument, and I don't think
Sorsdahl is going to be playing the whole game, right? I mean, you've got I forgot his name, Mason Miller. I mean, that
Yes.
Those are kind of the guys fighting on the outside looking in, and they're going to be the ones out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. I think I think we're going to see Cologne moved up. I think he's going to get moved up to the second team offensive line. I think he's, he kind of got moved up to the second team reps. He's playing
We
second
saw
team
that in
guard.
practice.
Yeah, in practice. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a little bit more of him early on. Um, yeah, I it's interesting. And hopefully Hendon just comes out and balls out on Friday, and then this conversation can just go away. Because if he doesn't play well, then we're all going to be wondering what are we going to do. And
Right.
honestly, I don't know what the solution is. It's not like there's any free quarterbacks out there that are better. I know Carson Wentz's name gets thrown out there. I do not want him on my team at all. Uh, I No, I'd rather
What
have.
about Carson makes you not want him at all?
I just. I mean, he bounces around. His time with his teammates in the Eagles. It just didn't go well with me. And then everywhere else, he hasn't stuck around well. If he was a good teammate, a team would keep him as a backup quarterback. There's a reason why he's out there.
That's fair. We can't call Teddy Bridgewater anymore. Teddy Two
No,
Gloves is in Tampa Bay,
yeah,
and that kind of stings.
yes. So I was going to ask you, what's your read on that? Why is Teddy not with the Lions? Like, why do you think that's a thing?
It just seemed like the timing for Teddy. I mean, because last year, obviously, we called Teddy in the playoffs. We called Teddy way at the end of the year. It's like, hey, we need help. And he was like, sure enough, I'll lace him back up. I'll come back out there. Well, now this year, there's been like controversy with Teddy with, the high school thing that he's coaching. And I don't know if you've seen all that, but basically, he's trying to help these kids out, and the school system and the, high school athletic association is failing them miserably. Anyway, he's not coaching anymore, so he needs something to do. He wants to play again. There's an opportunity for him to play in Tampa Bay, and he took it. I don't know. I mean, they've asked Dan Campbell, and he said he talks to Teddy from time to time. I'm sure they had some sort of conversation, but really, man, what kind of message would that send if we signed Teddy right now?
Well, I'm my Dan Campbell and Teddy are good buds, so I know the
Right.
conversation had to be had. Like Teddy had to reach out and say, "Hey, are you interested?" I gotta imagine that conversation was had. Whether it is a money issue, which I don't think it'd be that.
No.
I'm curious how that went down. My feeling is the Lions had a shot if they wanted to have Teddy. The other thing is Teddy is like that high school's down in Florida, right? Like I'm assuming that that's where he lives. Obviously, Tampa's in Florida. Did he want to be closer to home, and that's why he chose that? That could be a
True.
deciding factor too. I don't know. I don't know that to be true, but I'm just trying to spitball ideas of why that would happen. I would say that if their Lions were worried a little bit or had any inkling, they could have had Teddy. So I find it interesting that he's not a Lion. Um, I wouldn't have been mad about
But
that
if we're really
situation.
trying to see Hendon Hooker, and if they really have Kyle Allen in this, competition, then what,
Well, wouldn't you just sign Teddy, cut Kyle, because that's not going to cost you any money, and then just let Teddy and Hendon battle it out? I, unless they
I don't
told.
think if you sign Teddy at this point in this, like with everything happening the way that it's played out, if
Mhm.
Teddy signed with Detroit the other day instead of Tampa Bay and we cut Kyle Allen, I think that Hendon would be on the outside looking in. I think that he would be trade bait.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think you
don't know.
could bring Teddy and
Who's
say
going to
that
trade
Hendon.
for Hendon though? I mean,
Oh,
you're
you'd
not
have
going to
to
get
get
him.
like a very
You're lucky if you
late
get
pick, or you'd have to cut him.
you get a late pick or a seventh round swap, so that
Right.
whatever. I
Well, he's
mean,
a
you're not
third round quarterback
right,
who
but
has not seen the field.
who hasn't seen the field, has not looked great in preseason, had a concussion last year in preseason because he ran. The perception also is we signed Teddy as a go with Hendon. So I mean, anybody who thinks we're going to get anything for Hendon as of right now is fooling themselves. The only thing that Hendon has going for him is that he's cheap. But
Right.
if you're, I mean, I don't. We're not trading him for anything. That's gonna be anything. I mean, you may be moving up like into the front half of the you just be moving, maybe
You're
the
not
7th or
getting a
6th.
third round pick in return for.
No, you're
yeah,
not getting your value back on that. So,
right.
I mean, ideally, the Lions. I mean, they were hoping to develop Hendon, either with the idea of maybe flipping him. You mean the second we signed Goff to that extension, basically told you that you know Hendon's time on this team is limited if he wants to be a starter because we're tied with Goff for a while because of that contract. We're not getting out of that for anytime soon, which I'm fine with. I'm not arguing that we should be, but so Hendon's time on this team was basically as soon as his rookie contract was up, is probably going to be, you know, go somewhere else. So um, I don't know. I would have liked to see Teddy had the opportunity here, but you're right. Teddy probably isn't going to come here and want to be in a competition. He's going to probably want to be like, you're going to be the number 2, and maybe the Lions weren't willing to do that. Uh, but I think Teddy could have come in and beat Hendon pretty handily, to be honest with you.
Right.
All right. Since we're going to talk about the preseason game, Lion King got some questions. Tyreek Williams playing versus Atlanta. Do you think he's going to play? Yes or no?
I think if he was going to play, it would have been easy for Dan Campbell to say that he was going to play. So they've left it up in the air. He said kind of, not really. I want Tate Ratledge and Tyreek to play. I want them to get game action. But, they've got the joint practice coming up, and I know they're counting on those as well. It just doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't seem like they're going to play. If they do get them out there, dress them, and play, it probably is going to be very limited.
I would say,
do you
if they're
think he's
going
going to?
If they're going to play a preseason game, I think this is the one that makes sense too, because next week they're going to be working real hard in the next 2 weeks they have joint practices. They're going to see all they need to see out of these guys next week. So if they want to get them in some, to run them through the game situation, I would think that this would be the week to do it. Other than the goal line practices, I mean, they had, when we were there, they were just doing shells, so they weren't even, there's no pads or anything like that. There wasn't huge collisions. So this seems to me like this would be the game to get them in, because I don't think they're going to want to do it after working hard all last week. And he also, Lion King says, Kansas City starting Patrick in the preseason, yet we have Goff sitting. My answer to that is, I don't know if you saw the Colts game. Did you see this, Jacob? Did you see the Colts game today? Did you see Anthony Richardson absolutely get demolished and then leave the game immediately?
That was Ojabo.
Oh my God. He
unblocked.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson had I was watching it live when it happened, and he had no clue it was coming. It was, oh my God. That was insane.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want not to happen.
I know.
You'd also hope that your quarterback, your right-handed quarterback from the right side would be able to see or feel some pressure coming, and he did not.
Something. Yeah, I sensed something, but yeah, I mean, that's, when you're if you're going to put Goff out there, you're certainly not going to have Manu blocking for him, right? On his blind side. I mean, that way you're just not going to do it. You're going to kill your quarterback. So there's no, I totally get sitting these guys. Do you think Goff's really going to we're going to get progressively better from the season's going to be better because he plays 3 to 4 series in a preseason game? Do you really believe that?
I think that if the entire offensive line was healthy, and especially with the rookie receivers and everything like that, then maybe you give him a drive. But it's just not necessary. I mean, Joe Burrow, that's what I was just looking at when you mentioned that, because I knew that Burrow was playing. Burrow went 9 for 10, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase caught 4 passes, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase haven't thrown the ball back and forth enough. I
just think with the joint practices, you're going to get everything you need. They're going to get everything
in a more controlled setting.
Exactly. And the red jerseys or whatever. I don't think that you get enough out of a half of football, like that you would see the difference over the course of a season. Yeah, maybe it takes a little bit week 1 to get them going. And I guess you could make the argument that every game's super important, so you'd want to be going. But I'd say September is an extension of preseason football. If you watch September football in the NFL, there's a lot of mistakes that happen. Teams just don't look. They progressively get better. That's why Dave Campbell has always said we want to be the team that starts December football, November football. That's when our team. That's when we want to be our best. So I don't know. I I
I
don't
understand
see a
both thought
difference.
processes. Honestly, I get the trying to get them out there, get the work in, get you know the system down, get the workflow and everything down. Like I get that, but I also get not wanting these injuries and stuff to happen and just playing it safe.
Yeah.
And for Goff, especially, there's nothing really that we're going to see out of Goff or that he needs to work on in this preseason game that's not going to be controlled in joint practice. I think
Right.
him working with the offensive line as a unit and with the receivers as a unit would be helpful, but I'm completely fine with him not playing.
You're getting that in the joint practices though. So I mean that I just don't see how it helps. So all right. Let's is there anything else from training camp that you saw that, when we went on Wednesday that, we haven't talked about yet that you um
No, I think we kind of touched on it earlier when you were talking about everything that you wanted to talk about.
nice. I got you,
Yeah,
big.
right. You like that? No, the two people that I wanted to point out, which I think we talked about this earlier, but Tristan Colon had played guard. I
hmm
thought that was interesting. I think so. I'm not 100% positive, but I thought I saw him get reps with the starters. I don't know if Tate went out for like a play or two or something like that and then
Yes,
came
Tate
back.
was out for a little bit. Yes. They were
Yeah,
rotating
and then
him out.
Cologne was out there. Right. So that was interesting that they were giving him a real shot at guard. But then also, Keith Cooper, somebody that's been moving around on the defensive line, he's definitely able to collapse a pocket.
hmm
So with the other injuries that we've had in defensive line, he's an undrafted free agent. He's a long shot, was a long shot to make the team. But, we definitely know that undrafted free agents can make this team. And he looks like he's making the most of the opportunity that he has.
Yeah, they're giving him some attaboy moving up to the second team a little bit. I think like the Lions like to do that after a practice if they play good in the preseason game to just move them up or a level, just like as a confidence boost and also see how they look at against better competition. I think it's still a long shot for Cooper to make this team, but he's someone that I want to see develop, and it'd be nice to put him on the practice squad. Uh,
It would go a long way for him having like a really solid, preseason showing in these games for sure.
Exactly. I mean, all these reps will be super important for him, and also, you know, uh, if we want to keep him on our roster, just to have a good showing there. So, uh, that I am excited about that too. One thing that someone special was at we found out was at training camp. Who showed up there?
It's funny because when we were sitting there, you're talking about Ndamukong Su,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So when we were sitting there, there was a woman behind us,
Mhm.
and she said that her son was up front, like by the VIP tent, and then Sue walked by, and he said like a lot of people didn't know who he was. Well, she says this, and I'm like, after all the trash that Sue is talking online, like why would he possibly be here?
hmm
Turns out he was at the training camp. I've heard that it was in some sort of media capacity. He wasn't just there to hang out and see the team, though.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that or no?
I haven't seen that about the media capacity, but I saw some of the quotes he said. That the fans deserve a winner and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's not the
And then,
kind of crap you were saying last week, Sue. Come
well,
on.
he
What?
also said something like that he was ran out of town too, and because we wouldn't match the Miami contract or whatever. Talking out both sides of his mouth.
That's insane to be like, it was never about the money. But
Yeah,
then in like the same sentence or like right after, like they just wouldn't match Miami's contract. I
yeah,
was like, you're saying it's about the money. Like just because you
exactly.
say it's not about the money, you're talking about the money. That was the driving force. We all know it was a driving force. We didn't want you to leave.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's how Detroit is. You kind of abandon us for the contract. So you know what? Good riddance.
exactly. Someone else that walked right in front of us because we were in the bleacher section was Brad Holmes. Walked right by us, and we found out why. He was doing an interview with 97.1, and there was a couple of interesting things in that interview that I wanted to talk about. The first one was they asked him about the Aiden Hutchinson contract, and he said that no serious talks have happened. I don't know how much I believe all that, but if that's true, does that concern you that we're at this far into training camp and we haven't had serious talks with extending Aiden?
Yeah, I wanted to hear your opinion on that too, because I don't think I believe that. I mean, I guess depends on who like defines serious talks. Then, I mean, serious is in the pen is almost a paper. I don't understand how no talks have been made, unless that's something they've decided. And Aiden was like, you know what, I'm focusing on rehab and I'm focused on coming back, and I don't want any distractions with this, or or maybe Aiden and his agent are like, let's wait and see what happens with Micah and Trey Hendrickson and everything before this. I don't believe that they haven't had serious talks, and that's weird to me if they have not. But I mean, when you talk about Alex Anzalone and that kind of thing, where he's been frustrated, and I forget now exactly what they did for Alex. They like converted some of his like salary into a
They
bonus
gave
or
him
something. Like
like
he got a very small.
He got a $250,000 raise, and then he got like another $750,000 that he can get incentives. So he can make basically up to another million a year, which I cannot believe that that's what he was asking for. And when they asked him, like in his media thing, he kind of blew it off. Like I think he just is like, well, I guess I'm going to get what they can give me. Like that's the kind of vibe I got. Like it wasn't like he was. I don't think
He was
by any
not
stretch.
satisfied. That wasn't
No,
the
he was
answer.
not.
Right,
Like
right.
this was not the answer. Like they blew me away with the offer that they gave me, and now I'm super happy. No, this is not what Alex wanted, but the Lions probably told him this is what we're gonna do, take it or leave it, and that's just what happened. But Alex is out there playing, so that's
Right.
I'm happy with that.
But I mean, the Lions have everything to gain from signing this Aiden or getting this extension done sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So this is hurting the team. If these serious talks are not happening, you are hurting the team and you're costing us more money, basically.
But I mean, if you're Aiden, right? Like he has no obligation to. I mean, yes, as a fan, I want Aiden to be like, "Oh, here's a carrot. This is what I'll do for you." But if he
Here's
lets
a
these other
carrot. Hang on.
carrot, like like here's whatever, you know what I meant.
No, you're not going to bypass it. I don't know what you mean.
I mean, like here's something I'm gonna do something nice for you. As a horse, you're gonna lure him with a carrot. That's
Okay.
what I'm going with.
Horse.
So
Got it.
like, Aiden is not, you know, he's not gonna be like, oh, I got to do this nice thing for the Lions. They were so nice and they drafted me. No, Aiden's like, if I let these other two guys sign first, then I'm gonna get more money. And I'm not saying that Aiden should be knocked for that. I mean, he could very well turn out to be the defensive player of the year next year, and then he's going to deserve to be one of the highest, if not the highest paid, you know, edges in the game. So I could see why he'd want to wait it out. The other option, you know, I you were the Lions early on. I was like, the Lions probably want to see him on the field to see like if he's back to being Aiden. Well, I've seen enough. I'm sure the Lions have seen enough to know that Aiden's fully back. So I don't think there's anything residual worry about injury, problems or anything like that. So I'm assuming that this is more on Aiden than the Lions, because I think you're right. The Lions have every reason to want to sign him right now, because we're gonna, he probably would be the highest paid edge, but then Micah would, outpace him, and then Hendrickson, when he signs either with the Bengals or someone else next year, was probably gonna pass him up.
A thing we do have going for us is that there's no animosity and there's no holding out, like with the stuff going on with Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones, and then obviously Trey Hendrickson holding out and then showing up to camp. Like, thankfully, it has not come to anything like that. Aiden's still under contract, and we're still all systems go. But
right. Well, Aiden's got this year, and then we have him he's still under contract next year. And then if he doesn't sign, and I know that they would franchise tag him. Aiden's not going anywhere. He's going to be in Detroit. They're not.
That's when you have a holdout.
Yeah.
It's not going to come to that. I don't believe so. But
I don't think so either. I mean, but that's the reality of the situation. It would benefit the Lions in so many ways to get this contract done now, just like they did with Penei Sewell last year. Spread that, bonus money over so many more years, because you'd have the fifth year, you could spread it out either between this year, next year, in his 5th year, and then all the extent, if you did whatever 3 more years and plus any void years, they could just spread that money out, and plus they could sign up for probably a lower number than what it's going to be next year. I'm hoping it gets done. I would love to get it done before Micah, but the way Micah held out today, so I think if Micah's wants to get his done before the season, and I don't know if Aiden's going to have the urgency to get this done before the season starts.
They've also got Jerry Jones saying that he doesn't see it happening before the season and that Micah may miss games because of it.
That's Jerry.
That's what I'm saying. It's just a terrible look.
He did that with Zeke. He did that. I mean, he does that with all his players. Zeke, he did that. Emmett, like all those guys, like did the same thing. And I don't know what he ends up giving them everything that they want. And I don't understand what this power play is. I'm glad I don't have an owner like that because it's pointless. And then or you could have a situation like the Bengals where they're just cheap and they don't want to spend the money, and then they do stupid stuff, and then they end up paying Chase and giving Higgins and giving them all their money. It just I don't get it. I don't understand it. Nothing you could do is gonna be perfect. We see that with Alex right now. I think the Lions do things the right way, and we still have an unhappy player, but we're still paying the people that need to be paid, all our young guys, and you don't see these things dragging out. Even the stuff with Aiden said, there's no animosity. It's just I don't think either side really feel. Well, maybe in my opinion, it's Aiden probably doesn't feel the rush to do this, and his agent's probably saying if you hold out, you're going to get more money.
Right.
If you just wait a little bit longer, and he's still playing, he's out there playing. We're not worried about that, and that's fine. It is
exactly. That's the difference.
But it's not risk free. If Aiden, like you look at what happened to Slater, right? Slater today blew out his knee. Luckily he
right
signed that contract
signing.
like a month ago, right? For him. So
was that a month ago?
Yeah, it was like 4 weeks.
When Slater signed?
It was like 4 weeks.
Oh God,
ago.
I thought that was like last week.
I think it was like a month ago. So I'm pretty sure it was like 4 weeks ago he signed it. 4 years, 113 million.
Right.
And so there is some risk for Aiden for not signing that deal. It's not going to happen.
Absolutely,
it's going to be healthy, but it's not a risk-free thing. So it's not like a no-brainer to hold out either, because you're going to take some security getting paid right now. Because if he signs that contract, then he's going to get all his guaranteed money. Whereas right now, he'd be just stuck with the 5th-year option. The other thing that Brad Holmes talked about was Zadarius Smith. They asked him about that. We've talked about that ad nauseum, but I just thought it was interesting that he's basically saying the door is still open. So he's Zadarius has some wants, which I'm assuming is a contract demand. And Brad Holmes is probably, it's the same thing that we speculated the whole time. There's a certain number that they'll sign him, and they're just not at that point yet. But he did not close the door. So I thought that was interesting.
Right. I mean, kind of what we've thought all along is that the door is open. We're just waiting for Zadarius to come in.
He also said something like, what did he say? Oh, Zadarius, he said something about not being showing up for camp or not wanting, he's a veteran. Maybe he doesn't want to be.
I got the quote
camp.
here.
Yeah, read that.
Because he says, well, the exact quote, he says, I'm not saying that he doesn't want to be in training camp, but if he misses some time, there's obviously still interest there. We've been keeping in touch. Basically alluding to, I'm not going to say that he doesn't want to be in training camp, but that's kind of what's going on right now. Or, that if he misses time, there's not an issue. They're not concerned with that.
Right. Do you think it's important for Dan Campbell that if Zadarius wants to be on this team, that he'd be he'd be through the whole training camp? Do you think that is is that a concern that, hey, he's not in training camp, so therefore the Lions aren't going to sign him because Dan Campbell would require everyone to be through the whole training camp? Do you think that is something?
I think ideally he would be in camp. Yes. Now, the whole training camp, maybe not. The early part and everything, he's a veteran, doesn't always have to go through that. But I know we talked about before, I definitely was hoping that after the Hall of Fame game or after this Atlanta game that he signs pretty soon. Mm-hmm. You want him to be there in training camp and be in some of the grind. You don't want him to show up right before the 53 cut down, or you don't want, hey, they cut the roster down to 52 and then signs Zadarius the day after or whatever. I mean, that just is not. I don't think that that's fair to everybody else that's been battling through training camp. But at the same time, Zadarius is who he is. He came on in the middle of the season last year and was okay. So I go back and forth. I feel like for the team, I guess team morale, team unity, and everything like that, it'd be better if he was here now in the grind of training camp.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think the longer this goes on, I say the less likely that he's going to be on. I thought that maybe this week he would make an appearance, that they would sign him. So I am curious about that. One thing, I was listening to the POD midweek mailbag today, and one thing that they pointed out, because I asked a question about Marcus Davenport, and they made a point that Davenport's making like 1.75 million. He's the starter, and then you got Pascal, who's making about 2.5 million. So he's definitely behind Davenport. And then if you resign Zadarius, you're probably giving him at least like what four, in the $4 to $5 million range. He's still going to be under Davenport. So Davenport, you're paying a lot less, but he's going to be your starter. I thought that was an interesting point. I mean, obviously you're paying him less because we're hoping that he's out there with the injury risk that he has. But I thought that was
Didn't
an
they
interesting
load
point.
Davenport with like incentives too?
Right. And so we don't really like the contract as a base is like 1.75 million, but there is some incentives. And I don't know if we know what the incentives are. Like, I don't know if it's just like active game day roster or sack
I've got it.
incentives. You got it?
Yeah, I've got it. I knew I had it somewhere around here. So he gets every game that he's active, he gets a $50,000 bonus.
Okay.
He gets, if he plays 65% of the snaps, it's $1 million bonus. 40% of the snaps is 500,000, and then he's got a sack incentive. If he gets 8 sacks, it's 500,000. 11 sacks, 1.25 million.
Okay.
And I would be okay with Davenport getting 11 sacks and paying him an extra $1 million.
I think everybody would be on board with that. That would be well worth it, right? So I just say it was interesting that he's just making so much less than the people, especially if he signs Zadarius.
Right.
I don't know. I'm getting the feeling it's some people sounds like it's inevitable, and maybe it is, but I would just rather have him in camp earlier, just to be around the team and
right. I don't want him just showing up like he did before, and yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Real quick, Slater.
Yeah.
Slater signed his contract 10 days before the injury.
10 days, just 10 days. Okay. Oh man. Ugh, God, that's terrible.
And this says he was absent from training camp due to a minor injury. So I don't know. I don't have it in front of me how many practices he actually went to after this contract, but yeah, devastating for them.
It is. So, all right, man. Let's wrap this up by just talking. Kind of maybe alluded to this, but maybe I don't have your answer. Which player or position group are you watching with excitement in Atlanta tomorrow? Friday.
So we've already mentioned Hendon Hooker, Ratledge, Tyleek, Vaki. I wanted to see carry the ball a lot in the preseason, and that's kind of up in the air. But with the Dan Jackson and the Ennis Rakestraw injuries, suddenly there is a battle for roster spots at defensive back that has become really interesting to me. You only have, with the defensive backs, I've got 7 that are locks right now. You got Kirby and Branch, Terrion, DJ Reed, Amik, Rakiasin, Avante Maddox. Those are my locks right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 7 defensive backs. Last year's initial 53 had 11. I think there's probably going to be 10, I would say. So, I mean, let's just say there's 3 spots left. Well, you've got Maurice Norris, Lauren Strickland, and Eric Hallett, who were all here last year. But then you've got Tyson Russell, Ian Kennelly, who are our undrafted free agents. But then you've also got now DiCaprio Boodle, Luke Barku, Nick Whiteside, DJ Miller. We don't know if Khalil Dorsey is going to be activated before week 1, but there's a couple spots here that, these guys were all on the outside looking in before these injuries happened. And now all of a sudden there's a battle between these guys for just a couple spots left. So I'm interested in seeing these defensive backs and seeing if anybody, steps up and steps out. This is one of those lose yourself moments where, you get one shot, do not miss your chance to blow.
Exactly. I get you. I'm with that. I think Dorsey's going to take one of those spots. I I think Maurice Norris has definitely got the spot. Strickland's been, I know he got yelled. He did. I know he got yelled at a lot when we were at practice last week, but I thought he played pretty decent in the preseason game. And then I think that those guys got it. Hallett is versatile and can play the outside, so he's like one of those guys that he's a nice guy to have on the roster because he could play so many different spots. He'd play outside corner, he could play nickel, he could play safety. Uh,
And they moved him around playing with the ones. Like when Kirby was out, he was out there. A Meek missed practice. Hallett took his spot. So, I mean,
yeah,
based on that alone, it seems like he kind of has the upper hand. But yeah, no, that's really interesting to me all of a sudden.
yep, I like that. I guess mine. I just want to see if Tesla like just looks like above the competition again. I just want to see. I like seeing him run the open field. I love seeing him put his shoulder down and just make his presence known. I want to see him block in the run game because he is just a big body and he loves the block. So I just want to see if he looks like he belongs again. Man, the more he plays, the more I see him like in practice, the more I think that he's gonna get earlier playing time than I really anticipated. So I'm excited to see that. And then, Meeks, I want to see the wide receiver. I want to see someone else shine in the wide receiver room. I'm hoping, especially with Love It Out, people are going to get some opportunities. So hopefully we'll see something like that. I just want, all that is provided that Hendon can get them the ball. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, exciting game tomorrow. We Jacob and I will be back. We'll do our post game wrap up shortly after the postseason game. We're not going to do a live broadcast tomorrow, Friday night. We're both kind of we'll be watching the game, but just I think we're gonna be. I'm gonna be watching with my boys. They made me promise that I'd watch the game with them. We'll see if they stick out the whole game. I'm curious if we get to like the third quarter and we all these
Once
players will
they
say
start losing the people that they know, they're going to
they
start doing
know
other things.
they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go play Madden or something like that. Speaking of Madden, next week at some point, hopefully we're gonna hopefully record it tonight, but my son is sick. We're gonna do our Madden show like we did last year with the kids. So we'll just release that. That's just a fun show, probably 25, 30-minute show. So we'll do our Madden ratings. And then next week we'll be back. No more practice, but I'm hoping we have Matt Soltiziak from the Not the Same Old Lion podcast. He's going to one of the joint practices next week. So we're hoping to have him on and give us a firsthand account of what he saw at joint practice. Uh, Anything I missed, Jacob? Or are we caught up here?
I think we're good. You
All right, man.
danced around and went all throughout this outline, but I think somehow we touched on everything.
We did. I masterfully did it. It was awesome.
I don't know about
Really,
masterfully, but I
we
made it work. It's fine.
Oh yeah, you made it work. You're amazing. Again, thanks Ron for doing the fan mail. If you want to reach out to us, if you go in the summer in like the show summary, our email's there, our Twitter handle's there, our subreddit page is there. Reach out to us. If you have a question, we'll feature it on the show and or catch us live when we actually record the show. We'll try to, throw your question in there. So I appreciate
Lion King. Appreciate Lion King.
Yeah, Lion King had some good questions, but I still don't agree with starting golf in the preseason. Jacob's on the other side, I think, of that. But anyways, till the next time, I'm Jacob. No, I'm not. I'm Jason. I'm Jason.
And this is live, so you can't undo that.
I know. I wish I was Jacob. How about that? Can I say that? I wish I was Jacob. He wishes he was Jason. We'll do the, Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan,
Freaky
Friday thing. Oh man, I wake up with a big beard. I freak out.
No hair. I wouldn't know what to do.
Oh my God, that would be scary, right? You'd have to get invested.
It'd be painful for me. I couldn't.
Yeah,
right.
Essence of sunscreen, man. I'm just telling you if that happens to you. Anyways, we'll see you the next time. Go Lions.